Krista Mashore here. If you want to learn about how to start attracting business instead of chasing it, this is going to be the podcast for you.
Welcome to a new episode, Way More Customers. It's your host, Bilal. On today's episode, I have a new guest. She is the winner of the Two Comma Club Award. She has 4 of them. That means she's gotten $1 million through each funnel, and she has 4 of them. She's the author of 3 books, and she is a coach. She has her own podcast, Fired Up. And most importantly, she is our first female guest on this podcast.
Oh, I didn't realize I was your first female guest. That is so funny. Okay, your listeners are going to be a little bit shocked.
Yeah, welcome, Krista. So the reason I wanted to, bring you on to the show is because, you've accomplished so much, and I just feel like our audience is going to really benefit from your experience and your knowledge.
Yeah, great. No, Bilal, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. I love what you're doing.
Yeah, so I want to get started. I had the chance to look at one of your Instagram posts. It was a video you had that you were talking about marketing and sales, and I really loved it the way you simplified it. You said marketing is like attraction and sales is like persuasion.
Yes, yeah. So basically, that's people think that marketing is like is branding, like your colors and your logos and all of that. Well, actually, marketing is much different. Marketing is basically attraction. So when you think about marketing, your job is to attract your perfect client avatar, and sales is actually persuasion. Now, many people think of sales and persuasion, sales is bad, but we're actually selling all day long to everyone. We're trying to sell or convince or persuade our partner to do what we want them to do, or our kids to do what we want them to do. We're persuading all day long to persuade someone to get them to do what we want. That's exactly what good marketing does. Marketing attraction, the right client, the right avatar, based upon your messaging, speaking directly to them, and your messaging will persuade, right, them to take the action that you want so that you can make the sale. And it's ethically selling. It's by giving people what they want, drawing them closer to you based upon their needs and meeting their pain points. And I know that you focus on gym owners, and as you know, I'm sure you teach, people are geared more towards moving away from pain than moving towards pleasure. So all of the marketing methods should be about, like, how do I get myself out of this pain, right? How do I, lose 30 pounds while still being able to eat donuts or whatever it might be? Because I want to get skinny, but I still want to be able to eat donuts. So how do I do that? I mean, I take this magic pill, or I go to this magic gym, or I join this magic challenge, whatever it might be.
Right, Krista. So thank you for, getting a bit more in depth in that. I want to ask you now for persuasion or attraction, which requires more work?
Okay, so if you do a good job in the attraction phase, the persuasion, the sales phase gets to be much easier. So I had the luxury to, Russell Brunson was my coach, and he basically, I'm a member of the Inner Circle. And so he really, really taught me exactly how to kind of fast track. So I was able to build my business from 0 to $7.4 million in 25 months with no one knowing me. And they were all like, how have you done that so fast? Like, what have you done? And basically, I these are men, so you're a perfect audience to use this analogy. Before jumping into bed with somebody, right, that I met at a bar, I date them first. So for example, if you meet a gorgeous woman and you see her at the bar, or a girl at the bar, and you ultimately you want to hop in bed, right? And I say that with love, okay? But you don't just go straight to bed. No, you have to date them first. So meaning first, maybe you'll send them a text message, and then you'll send them an email, and then you'll want to FaceTime, and then you'll meet for coffee, and then you'll meet for lunch, and then maybe you'll meet for a dinner, and you'll start holding hands, and then you'll kiss, and then you'll get married. First you get engaged, then you get married, then you go to bed. There's a long process. You're much more likely to go to bed with somebody after you've dated, held hands, courted them, gotten engaged, gotten married, and then you go to bed, right? But most marketers, they want to jump straight into bed. They don't allow people to get to know them, like them, and trust them. So they create these lead magnets, these landing pages, and to get somebody's information, to get them to want to act, but they've never done something very, very important, and they've never developed a relationship. They've never gotten someone to get to know them, to like them, and to trust them. They've never broken down that barrier, so that way when you go to ask for that date, right, or you go to ask for their email address or their phone number, as a marketer, they're more likely to give you their contact information because you have developed a relationship with them.
Okay, makes sense. So you're saying, there's a process, and then people don't really focus onto the process, by putting in all these like little steps before you actually get what you really want. And that could be spending life with someone, that you admire, but you bring them through a process.
Yeah,
So
and I just use that dating as an analogy, right? That's just an analogy of, you know, kind of getting marketers to understand that you have to think about your client avatar, your customer that you want to bring into your funnel, that you want to close and you want to do business with. You've got to think of them like you would a spouse, right? You don't just go immediately get married. You don't see somebody at a bar and go, "Man, you're hot, let's get married." No, they would never marry you. And that's what most marketers do is they expect their client avatars to just give them their contact information, get in their funnel, download their stuff before they've ever given them a reason to want to. So it's almost like you have to learn to date and to court. You've got to learn to get people to see who you are, give them value, serve, not sell, get them to trust you, to understand that you're a person of authority. For example, um people will go into my funnels because they've read my books or they've listened to my podcast or they've seen me on stage. The only reason that they give me their time to actually coach with me or to get into my funnel is because they see me as the authority figure, because I've developed trust and respect from them. So my book, let's say, right, is a catalyst to them wanting to and this book right here is launching. It's called The Ultimate Digital Marketing Playbook for Dominating Your local area. So how to take the guesswork out of digital marketing, maximize your profits, and become the authority in your profession or business. This is on Amazon. This totally teaches exactly how, as a business owner, a local professional, how the process I'm telling you about, right? Most marketers they just say, download this or give me your information or join my challenge or whatever it might be, right? Join my lose 20 pounds in 10-day challenge. But they're not going to give you that because the level of trust is not there yet. So once you bring people into your funnel and you continue to give value and you position yourself as the expert authority, then when you go to create your landing pages and your funnels and getting people into your ecosystem, they're much more likely to convert because you've made a connection. Remember, marketing is attraction. That when you have good marketing, you're attracting your customer and saying, "Man, I want exactly what it is that you have," because your marketing message was correct. So now the persuasion, the conversion, the sales, right, is much more easy because when your marketing message aligns with um, your client avatar, then convincing them to convert to a sale, right, persuading them to take action is much easier because your message aligns exactly with where they're at. So they really, really work hand in hand. The more that your messaging, your attraction, right, speaks the language of the client. So you need to know what their pains are, their desires, their pleasures, their wants, their needs. Okay, as long as your messaging speaks to that and you are the solution to that, and they know that based upon your dating and how you've really warmed them up, they're much more likely to convert, to
okay,
persuade, sell.
right. So thank you for clarifying, that you need to know their pain, pleasure, wants, and needs. I actually want to focus on that. You say that when you try to persuade someone, it's not that you shouldn't focus on their needs, but you should like sell on to their wants.
Their pains, yeah. So people are much more likely to move to get away from pain than they are towards pleasure, right? So it's like, so let's talk about it in the gym analogy, right? So you're much more likely to convert. That's why the headlines are always negative. People want to know about, oh my God, negative, right? They're more attracted to negative stuff. So the more that your headline speaks to solving the pain, taking them out of pain, right, and moving them towards pleasure, it's better. So it's something like, as a gym analogy, it would be, um, you know, it wouldn't be like, oh, let's get down to a size 4, right away. It's like that's a pleasure, getting down to a size 4. It's like how to lose, 20 pounds in 60 days without having to sacrifice your soul, give up all of your sweets, and never drink alcohol again. Right? Like, oh my God, I want to be able to lose weight and not have to, I can still drink alcohol. I can still, eat sweets. I'm interested in that. Like, does it make sense? You're not saying, oh, how to lose 30 pounds. No, you're saying like, are you completely obesely overweight? You can't even barely get up in the morning. You're exhausted. You can't fit into your clothes. You walk 5 minutes and you can't even get out of bed. Like that stinks, right? Right. Now the solution to it is my new gym product, my new gym challenge, whatever it is that you guys sell.
Okay, so thank you for that. That was very helpful. I want to talk about, a bit more about you and you mentioned, some of the success you've had like before where you were and where you are right now. I want to know from your daily schedule, how busy you are, how productive you are, how you manage your time. Is that important? And do you do everything on your own in terms of managing everything like your day to day?
That's a good question. So today, on one of my coaching call, I actually did something called the Pomodoro technique with my students. So basically, what that is, and every morning I wake up at 5 a.m. and I work out from 5:30 to 6:30, right? And either before the workout or after, I utilize something that it's called my daily sheet. And on my daily sheet, I write down, I visualize my day, what I want my day to look like for the day. I also visualize my outcome, so I know where I want to end up in the future, right? And I visualize myself as if I'm already there, and I visualize myself succeeding every morning, right? So it's a visualization. 5 to 10 minutes is all you need to do. Then I write out 6 things that I'm grateful for. So 6, and I know that for you men, some of you are like, oh, this sounds, corny, but everything that I do is based upon scientific research proving that it works, right? So success breeds success. Energy goes where focus flows. So the more that I focus on gratitude, what I'm grateful for, the more of those things that I get. The more that I visualize myself succeeding, I'm telling my mind, because it doesn't know the difference between reality and what I'm thinking about, my mind is putting me in a position to continue to succeed and to get to where I want to go. So those are 2 things that I do in the morning. I also, if I hadn't done it the night before, but I encourage it to be done the night before, write out 6 tasks that I absolutely must get done for that day. The first task being the one that I absolutely don't want to do. So for example, I teach my students to do a lot of video because video gets people to know them, like them, trust them, and position them as the authority figure, right? It's the fastest way for them to become known. Everyone hates doing video. Like if you ask 100 people, you tell them to do video, they all say, I don't like the way I sound, the way I look, the way I'm fat, I'm skinny, I'm too tall, I hate my hair, whatever it is. I don't like the way I sound, I'm embarrassed. No one likes it. But unfortunately, that's the way you look and sound and all that. So I just remind, that's how you look and sound. So you just got to get over it, right? But it's the fastest way to make the most amount of impact in any industry, no matter what it is, including being a gym owner. Okay. So that's the first thing that you would do. And now once you get that first thing done, that hardest task, kind of like that book, Eat Your Frog, then all of a sudden you've set yourself up for success. You instantly have more energy because that hard thing is done, and you no longer have to think about it. Both physically, it's out of your way, and mentally, right? So then you can be more successful. So visualize your day, write out 6 things you're grateful for, and then write out 6 things that you're going to complete. Now, research shows that the more that you write something down, the more likely you are to actually complete it. And then when you check that box that it was done, you also are giving yourself like little endorphins are created in the brain. So you're having more success. So your brain says, oh, I like this success, I want to do more. So then you're driven to continue to do more. So you'll have more energy to get more things done. So that's how my day starts. And then I go through my list. I really focus on doing something called the Pomodoro technique, which you don't know about, look up the Pomodoro technique. You will save about 16 hours of time in a week by utilizing the Pomodoro technique. And that's basically being majorly laser focused in 25-minute increments, and then taking a 5-minute break every 25 minutes, and then doing 4 of those. 4 of those equals 1 Pomodoro. And if you do that, the goal is to do 3 Pomodoros a day, which would be 12, 25-minute increments of being fully laserly focused on one thing. You will get an enormous amount of work done. You'll get more work done in a day than you've gotten done in a week. I guarantee it. Because we are as humans, because of the dinging and donging and peeking and ponging and Twitter and Twatter and Facebook and Instagram and all these phones and everything, we are constantly being, like, our brains are being taken off of what we're working on. So it's taking us a long time to get back into the groove. So I really, really focus, preach, practice, and teach my students to use the Pomodoro effect as much as possible to get more done. As far as having a team, I do have help. I didn't always. When I first started, 2.5 years ago, it was just me and one other person. And then we slowly grew to more. But we had 3 Two Comma Club awards within the first year. So I was at, I launched in November. No, actually it was not, that's not true. It took me 15 months exactly to get 3 Two Comma Club awards, which is mean I did $1 million from a brand new business with the exact strategy that I'm talking to you about right now, which is basically putting out free content, getting people to know me, like me, and trust me. Now, this is on a national level too, which is much harder to do than a local level, right? So this is the same strategy that I did in real estate, where I teach other local professionals now how to do, where we teach them how to become the local community market leader. So it's about developing trust, creating videos, making sure those videos are actually seen, right? So we teach you to commit to consistently producing content correctly, meaning correctly distributing it, correctly having the right message. You're going to make a connection, right? So you're more likely to convert more clients and customers. Okay. If you think about that all the time and have that in your mind, you're more likely are going to make a connection more quickly with your audience. So they'll convert more easily. And that's how I built my real estate practice to be in the top 1% of realtors nationwide, for 19 years running. And that's the exact same way I got to become known in the digital marketing space, to teach realtors and now local professionals how to use digital marketing and social media to dominate their that exact strategy.
Okay, so before your three awards, were you working on your? You said you were working with yourself and another person. Did you get your first award just by you and the other person together?
Yeah, I don't remember if I had Megan on there yet. I don't. I think it was me and two other people. So like for the first year, pretty much, or like 8 months, it was me and two other people, right? And then eventually we started adding, and we kind of added too quickly, quite frankly. We grew too fast because we couldn't even handle the growth and even the employees because it just was it just was too quick. And let me
Okay.
just say something. Like, everyone always thinks like, oh my god, it's just one funnel away, it's so easy. It's not as easy as just a funnel. You have to have the right ads and the right strategy behind the funnel. So you can have an amazing funnel, but if you can't bring content or drive traffic to the funnel won't do anything to you. You can have great traffic, but if you have a bad funnel, the funnel won't convert. So really it takes both things, right? And the funnel will convert more once you know your target audience, what their needs are. Like, you really understand every single aspect about them: where they shop, how old they are, what they do, what they eat, are they married or single, are they educated, how or not, who do they follow. All of those things are so important, because then your marketing messaging, right, your messaging, your attraction, right, will be better. And then your conversion will be better because you're persuading them based upon what they need. People are more likely to convert when you're really speaking to them and their marketing message. That's why knowing who your client avatar is and speaking that language to them all the time is so important.
Okay. Well, how is like one way of actually figuring out like all these things that you mentioned, like where they shop, where they eat, what are they like, where they? How do you actually figure out these questions about your
So
audience?
it takes time. So you can do like, if you're gonna, let's say you want to create a Facebook group, right? And then one of the things that you want to start asking people when they join is you want to ask them questions about, like, first of all, what's your biggest pain that you find about losing weight, or what's your biggest pain you find about gaining weight if they're trying to gain weight, right? Or so you can kind of understand like what the problems they're going through. Like, you want to always be asking those questions, taking surveys as you're building your list. You want to be asking all of those questions. If you have any kind of a Facebook group, make sure that you get their email address, because you want to own the traffic. You want to own that list so you can market to them off those other platforms, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or wherever it is. You want to make sure that you're owning their email addresses, so in case those platforms ever go away, you're not just stuck at fish out of water, right? So you do that by not saying, can I have your email address? Now you say, hey, to get my 10 tips on how to lose 3 pounds in 7 days without changing your lifestyle, input your email address and I'll get you this. We'll send you the download, right? That somebody's going to want you give them something that they absolutely must have. So they'll give you their email address when they enter the Facebook group. So, and then you have that exported into your CRM automatically. So you're not having to do any of it. That's done, via spreadsheets and Zaps and all that good stuff. And then they're tagged as a want to lose weight or want to gain weight based upon what their answers are, or if they picked A or B. Like, A is you want to lose weight, B is you want to gain weight. Now they're tagged as someone who wants to lose weight. B, are they tagged as a male or a female? You want to tag them on that too, right? C, are they trying to you want to answer those questions so that your marketing message speaks directly to them, so that you're having multiple messages go out, so that you can actually, you're more likely to convert. You're persuading because your messaging matches. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for actually going more in detail and explaining that process. So I can see that you're very successful in terms of what you've achieved, and you can very simply talk about very complicated things. I want to start and talk about how you got started with your journey.
Okay. So which part of it?
Like okay, so like how did you get into entrepreneurship? And then we're gonna slowly move on to like where you are right now.
Okay. So I used to be a teacher. I taught third grade for 6 years. I've got a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And my daughter, at the time, it was 19 years ago, she got sick and contracted something called spinal meningitis. And then she had a kidney failure and multiple strokes as an infant. And we spent like 3 weeks in Oakland Children's Hospital isolation unit with her. They told me, and this was, again, I was a teacher at the time. They told me that she probably wasn't going to make it on multiple occasions. And she ended up being amazing, but they had told me that she probably was going to, it's very likely that she could be deaf or blind or mentally disabled because it have a lot of complications. So I quit my full-time teaching job to be a stay-at-home mom, and I decided to play real estate, meaning I thought, okay, I'll sell 1 or 2 houses a year, 3 houses a year. I'll make the same amount of income that I made as a teacher so I could be home with my daughters. Well, then I found out very shortly that my husband was having an affair, and we had just bought in a brand new house, and he left me and my 2 kids with drained bank accounts and a brand new home with the mortgage payment. So I had to very quickly do more than just play real estate. I had to become a real estate guru. And that year, I ended up selling 69 homes my first year in the industry in real estate. So I sold 69 homes because my why was to take care of my kids, keep them in their house, keep them safe, keep them secure. Like that why was so strong. I would do anything to get over not letting them become homeless, right? Or the fear of them getting taken away from me because I couldn't afford to financially take care of them. So that's how I started in real estate. And I just kind of like, it was like never look back from that point.
So
Um,
that's a huge accomplishment. I don't want to just like I really want to focus on that. You said you sold 69 houses just in 1 year, because of your why. And a lot of people like they're not pushing themselves that hard. So were you like not sleeping as much? Were you just like not spending as much time with your family that you wished you could have?
so all those things, like we have to understand, I mean, when you're building something, and even looking back now, I still work too much, right? But when you're building something, like we have to be willing to to do things right now that we don't want to do so that later we don't have to do things that everyone else has to do. We have a choice. So there's like something has got to give in your life, right? Whether it be sleep or time. Anytime you're starting a new adventure, you have to understand that it's going to take you 10 times more time, 10 times more money, 10 times more resources than you think. It just will, right? So identifying what problems that you're going to face, and then identifying that when those problems come up, what am I going to give up, right? Or how am I going to overcome that? If you do some research about like, it's called being positively, you're being positive, but you're a positive realist, right? Like as positive as you can about your outcome, what you're doing, but you're also real in the fact that, you're going to come up, you're going to want to fall. You're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to scrape your knee 100 times, and get up 101, right? And then each time you're going to realize that it's getting you closer to where you want to go, but you have to be able to understand, okay, I know that I like to sleep. So therefore, I know that in order to make this happen, I'm going to have to get up an hour earlier and maybe go to bed an hour later. Okay, I know that's going to be difficult for me. How can I make sure that I can overcome that? Well, I'm going to take a 15-minute nap right during the day, and when I feel that, like, oh my god, I don't want to get up, I'm gonna like your people that want to work out at the gym, they cannot continue to do the same thing. They have to give something up. You cannot continue to keep eating donuts every day and not working out and expect to lose weight, right? So they have to be willing to have immediate pain right now to do something they don't like so that they can later on have this outcome that they are going to love, right? So it's a matter of really, really convincing people and then getting them to realize, okay, you love donuts. So let's get the donuts out of the house. Let's not buy donuts anymore. Let's not buy alcohol anymore. If alcohol is one of your problems, then don't buy alcohol because you're much less likely to drink it, or leave the house at 6 p.m. if you're at home to go buy it if it's not in there. Like knowing that you're going to freak out and want a Twinkie or want to drink, a six pack, and knowing that that's going to happen and identifying that problem and knowing the solution is not to have it there, you're already setting yourself up more for success, right? So you have to do that in your business as well. You have to realize, like, yes, I miss my kids. At Christmas, I would leave to go show a house. At Thanksgiving, I would be 2 hours late for Thanksgiving because I was working with the buyer. I mean, I did those things. I When my kids weren't home, I worked a 12, 15-hour day. When my kids were, I didn't, because we had 50-50 custody. So I modified my behavior, and I did not say no. I was open to possibilities. I was open to options, too much. So I probably should have said no more, right? Because I was like a yes person too much. And that was one of the mistakes that I made. But you have to change something. We can't expect to continue to do what you've always done and get a different result. You have to change your behavior, period. Right? Like, for you, just like you guys know, you're gym owners, you teach people how to fitness. You can't expect to keep doing the same thing and all of a sudden magically lose weight or gain weight. You have to change your behavior. So do you as a business owner. You're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. You have to be willing to give something up and then recognize what your obstacles are going to be, that are going to come up with based upon your patterns and your behavior in the past, and knowing what you're going to do to overcome those. You will be much more likely to overcome those obstacles and challenges when you get there.
Okay, so going back, thank you once again for sharing that. Like going back to what you had said earlier, you said your life was so strong because you wanted to put that impact on your family. When you were getting up, in the mornings, were you visualizing once again, like where you wanted to be, and that's why you were like get back into the work mode and you would work like all day?
I'll be honest with you, the first year, like I cried all the time. I mean, no one knew it, but I mean, my family was ripped apart, right? Like, I mean, I had two small kids, ages 2 and 5. My husband had an affair. Literally, I found out that he was having an affair, and 2 weeks later, his girlfriend was driving my car and picking up my kids for Thanksgiving. Like, no joke. Okay. So my marriage at the time, I look back and it wasn't very happy, but I didn't realize it back then. But my family was ripped apart. So I was devastated. Devastated. I mean, I had trouble getting up, but I knew I had to, right? So I would go out there and put on a smile on my face, even though inside I was like, I lost like 30 pounds. I'm already pretty thin. You can't tell, but I'm pretty thin. I mean, I was under 100 pounds, right? I lost like 30 pounds and I was miserable, but I still did it. I kept reminding myself of why I was doing what I was doing. And then eventually it got easier and easier and easier, right? And I kind of just threw myself into work. So I took myself out of my sorrows, if that was the case then. Now fast forward. Okay. So then fast forward now, 16 years goes by. I'm in the top 1% of realtors nationwide. Now all of a sudden I'm making over $1 million a year as a realtor, like take home. Okay. I own, 8 homes paid for cash, have zero debt. We've got, nice cars and everything everybody thinks they want. Right. And all of a sudden I decide I'm going to be a coach, and my family, my parents and my husband is like, what the heck, you want to be a coach? Like, no. Normal people, Krista, that make over $1 million a year, that have your lifestyle, that have the best career, don't stop what they're doing to be a coach. And I was like, well, I love coaching and teaching and training, and I miss it so bad. Like I was born to be a teacher. I was born to be an inspirer, And for the past couple of years, everyone's been telling me, you should be a coach. You should be a coach. You're so inspiring. You're so, my God, you. And so finally I listened to that voice, right? And for the first 2 years, I hired the wrong coaches, and I just wasn't working, right? So I was trying and trying. Finally, I paid the 25 grand to Russell Brunson, joined his program. Actually, given him like over around 60,000 in a 2-year time frame, and drank the Kool-Aid, invested in myself, invested in my business, and he got me to go from 0 to $7.4 million in 25 months, right?
So before that, were you paying that amount as well to other coaches?
I was paying, it wasn't as much, or it wasn't the right one, or I just tried dabbling. I finally hired him, and I was like, okay, I read his books. I mastered digital marketing. I just drank the Kool-Aid. I did what he said. I went to our inner circles. Somebody said, do this. I did it. And even though I was tired and exhausted and, working 7 days a week, and yes, I was, working hard, but I committed to it, and I fast tracked because I hired the right person to help get me there.
Okay, so after you got your actually before you got your 69 homes sold, like what were you doing that you said that, hey, I'm doing this and it's working, as opposed to just doing a lot of stuff and really not seeing attraction? What was the difference, or what was the change that you had?
So I made sure that if everybody else was selling cookies, I was selling, chocolate cake. Like, in other words, so for example, back then, everyone would do black and white flyers. Well, I would do 4-page colored brochures, and then I'd put little CDs on my houses with all the images on the houses, right? I marketed my properties on TV, on commercials, so I would spend the extra money. So I did the things that most people weren't willing to do. I spent a little bit of money and invested it in my business, took money out to make more. So while everyone else was too afraid to invest and market and do things, I was doing things differently. And then I'll tell you, I mean, I did really, really well. And then my best year ever, I sold 169 homes. My best year ever was 169 homes. My best month ever, I did $360 to $6,000 as a real estate agent in 1 month. And that again was by being different. But the market at one point shifted. So I was able to get into short sales and foreclosures and sold these short sales and foreclosures. Well, 1 year I sold 169 houses. All of a sudden the market gets better and I went down to 12, right? And I was like, oh my God, I've got a team now. I can't just do 12 houses. I've got my kids, the house, I've this lifestyle. So I had to completely reinvent and remarket myself and adapt to what the market was doing, switch gears completely. And I started not focusing anymore on real estate, short sales and foreclosures. I started utilizing video marketing and when nobody else was, and using video to educate my community. And then I started utilizing digital marketing strategies, example, Facebook ads and video and drone photography and digital marketing while I was selling my properties, and then marketing that so everyone saw that I was different. I was doing things different than everyone else, and then quickly went up to over 100 homes that were all normal sales. They weren't short sales or foreclosures because I was different. So the best way for you to make an impact is while everyone is doing one thing, you do something different, right? If everyone is eating sushi, you eat Italian. You want to show that you're different, that you have value. I know one thing that works really, really well is doing these challenges, right? Because I know that they work so well. I don't even know what Alex Hormozy is, but he actually was in my inner circle as well. And I actually spent $25,000 to coach one day with Alex. I gave him 25 grand to fly up to San Diego just for one day of coaching with him. Of course he's a billionaire now, so it's like he's making a lot of money. So it was money well spent, but he talks about, like doing things differently, running your Facebook ads that, shows all the successes and, really speaking to the client's pain, kind of like we're talking to now, being the solution that's different than everyone else. And then giving them, and then when they get there, upselling them on memberships, upselling them on supplements, upselling them on, right. So it's a matter of you as business owners, gym owners, really treating your business like a business, not just like, hey, I'm a gym owner, like for me, I'm just a realtor, right? No, I'm different.
Right. So I want to ask you now, I see that you're not afraid to spend money, and a lot of people have fear of that. Like, why is it that people fear spending money?
So Robert Kiyosaki with Rich Dad Poor Dad says that there's two types of people. There's rich people and there's poor people. Rich people will buy assets and they'll spend money on an asset. An asset is your education. It's your marketing. It's you. That's an asset. Like investing in coaching, investing in learning the skill. Like you invest to learn the skill to make the money. Most people say, well, I want the money to get the skill. No, it's reverse. You've got to invest in yourself to learn how to do the skill. That's an asset. So that's what rich people do. Poor people buy liabilities. They buy things like expensive cars or on credit or vacations or things they can't afford. That is a liability. But when you invest in yourself, one of the best investments I ever made was getting my master's degree, right? I was I was in juvenile hall when I was a kid, and then I went to a group home for a year, and then I was in a foster home all through high school. And when I made that turning point, I chose to pay for my own college and to get a loan because nobody was paying for it for me. And it was one of the best things I've ever invested in because it taught me how to stick to something, how to put in hard work. And it also gave me the credentials to back myself where I'm at today in my career and where I was as a real estate agent, right? Meaning people saw that I had a degree and they took me as a little bit more of somebody a little bit more at a higher level, I would say in an education basis, they realized I took that serious, so they would know that I would take better care of them. So it helped my real estate career. I didn't know that when I was getting my real estate license, I was going to be a teacher, right? I was a teacher. I didn't plan on, that it would help my real estate career, but it absolutely has because I invested in myself, and people knew that with me investing in myself and my education, that I would also make that same investment with them as a professional.
Okay, so I can see you're not afraid of spending money. When you started your business and you had some money saved up, like were you investing it right away to build your team, or were you doing everything on your own from the beginning?
So I always, I hired somebody within my second year in the business. So I didn't hire anyone the first year when I did 69 houses. I did it all on my own. The second year I hired somebody and she helped me do all those other little things, right? Like make the flyers and the CDs and all these things that I couldn't do. So I believe the best way to fast track is to always hire somebody to help you that's good at things that you're not good at. Right. So, for example, I didn't want to learn to do technology. So I hire someone else that's better at that because I know they can fast track me to get where I want to go because it's two people or three people instead of one. Right. So, I mean, you have to think about like, this is your business. You have to be willing to invest in yourself and your time, even if it means that you take out a loan. If you take out a loan and you invest in yourself and your education and your training to get where you want to go more quickly, you're going to do better because number one, it's going to take you, money like speed. You're going to get there more quickly. You're going to have more leverage. You're not going to make the same mistakes, right? Like you've learned from someone else's mistakes. They're already giving you the keys to the castle. Okay. But I will say this, if you don't have a good mindset, meaning a lot of people will tell me, well, you can't be a coach and a trainer at the same time. And I'm like, I absolutely disagree with that. I'm an amazing trainer because I do what I do what I actually train, but also I'm an amazing coach because I can give somebody the blueprint on how to run a successful business, how to master their local area. But if their mindset isn't right, and they don't have the coaching and the support and the push to keep pushing, it doesn't matter what I give them, they won't work. So a huge part of what we practice and work on and train comes to your first question. What's your morning routine? How do we set our minds up for success? How do we set our minds up to be successful? There's a study called Change or Die. And basically they took people and they said, hey, there's 200 people and this group of 100 people, you're going to die. Both of you, you're going to die if you don't change your lifestyle. For example, if you don't quit eating donuts and you don't stop, you don't start going to the gym and you don't, lower your blood pressure, you're going to die if you don't change your lifestyle. Okay. After a year, 77% of those people would rather die than change. After a year, they went back to the normal lifestyle. Well, there was another group, 90%, 9 out of 10, 90%, my apologies. There was another group that had coaching, accountability, and support with like-minded people. They were going through it together, okay? They had coaching to learn how to do it right. They had accountability with each other. After a year, 77% of those people changed their behavior. So you are 7 times more likely to change your lifestyle, to change what you're doing, to be able to actually succeed and get where you want to go when you have coaching, accountability, and support and help. And if people would rather die than change their lifestyle, imagine how difficult it is to change your lifestyle with your business. Okay.
Right.
It's almost impossible to do it on your own. The only mistake that people make is thinking they can do it on their own. That's why I had to hire Russell, right? Russell hired people before him. I mean, and right now I have a coach that I pay $10,000 a month to, 10 grand for one coach. It's not Russell.
Was that scary when when you made your first investment of that big amount? Were
I
you
made
like,
it during COVID. It was very scary. I made it during COVID. I only had a 6-month burn rate in my bank account. Meaning if I, because the market is like switched and it was like, oh my God, if we didn't make some changes, my company would be out of business in 6 months. Yes, it was very scary. It was the best investment I ever made because he's helped me turn my company around.
oh, awesome. And, like that takes a lot of guts to do that, even though like, you make, I mean, obviously a lot of money, but it's still like,
But remember, it costs a lot of money to make a lot of money.
right.
It costs a ton of money to make a lot of money. So obviously in that 7 million, I didn't make 7 million, right? I probably brought home around 2.
Right. You have employees and expenses. Obviously, that makes sense.
Yes.
So, are you happy where you are?
I'm very happy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I love what I do, and that's a really good point to my why, right? Like when I was changing from real estate to coaching, everyone's like, what the hell? Well, I wasn't happy anymore. I wasn't happy. I was tired. I had, the best level of fulfillment you can get in life is when you help somebody else get, do well, when you actually can give back. And, for me, that's very true. I love helping people succeed. It's my passion. When I get all my testimonials about people doing amazing, it's like, I want to do more of it. So, when you love something enough and you're super passionate about it, like my passion and my drive to succeed with my new business, which is coaching, was just as strong as my passion was to take care of my kids, like, right, and keep them in their home. I just have such a strong burning desire to make an impact. And so my why is to make sure that I develop community market leaders across the country who make an impact on their communities and are go-givers and make a difference, right? So it's like I'm creating this worldwide movement of people who are making enough money, have more financial freedom and time, so much so that they can give back to their communities and make an impact on their communities globally, right? That's it. When I die, I want to be remembered as that lady that helped me and created, this big movement of people that were doing things like adopting dogs and, cleaning up the streets and creating these programs for kids, and even though my name won't be on it, I was the catalyst to help make that happen.
Wow, that was very nice. I want to ask you, like, when you got started in your business, you said you were doing a lot of stuff on your own. You didn't have a team. How did you make the switch, and how did you decide that ClickFunnels was like something that you wanted to add into your business? And why did you get into ClickFunnels?
Because I hired my coach, and when I hired him, I didn't know what a funnel was, and so he said, use ClickFunnels. So I mastered ClickFunnels. I found someone that knew how to build the ClickFunnel because I didn't want to do that. So I invested in that, and I outlined the strategy on how to make the funnel work, and had someone build the funnel. And the strategy is know, like, trust, videos, serve, don't sell, get your name out there, break down barriers, like the whole dating analogy, before having somebody to want to click and bringing them into my funnel to have them give me their information. And that's how I established myself as where I'm at. I listened to my coach.
Okay, and so was that like did you see a big difference once you implemented that?
Oh God, Bilal. Yes. I mean, yes, absolutely. I wish I had found Russell 2 years prior, because when I first started getting into what I do, there was no competition, right? Like it was a super, super blue ocean, and the ocean got a little redder as time went on because more people were teaching video marketing and social media. So had I found him sooner by not being so chicken and making the investment to invest in myself and trust in myself, no matter what investment you make, if you believe in it, first of all, you've got to have a super strong belief system, that no matter what, you're going to make it, right? Like there was this, I don't remember the book I read, but it was a book, I don't remember which one it was, but it talked about how they would interview all these hundreds of really successful people across the country, like really, really billionaires and millionaires. And one of the common traits that they all had in together was that they had a really strong belief in themselves. Like they just believed that no matter what, it was going to work. They chose, and you don't have to believe that, but if you choose to, it's going to help you, right? Like if you choose to believe that what you do is going to work, is a lot more better than choosing to believe that it's not going to work, right? Because energy goes where focus flows. Our minds give us what we think about. I mean, so I always just choose to believe, and for some reason I have this belief it's always going to work, right? And I've had so many horrible things happen. I just found out last week, honestly, that my human resources director and that my marketing manager basically, built a business right from under my nose that's in direct competition with a new business that they know I'm building. I mean, literally, they're teaching coaches and consultants and service providers how to utilize digital marketing and social media. Well, I teach local professionals, which is a service provider, how to do it. And it was crushing. I had to, like, oh my God, it was like they're my friends, I thought. And all these things go through your head. I mean, I've had things like that happen a lot in the past 2.5 years, but I just keep pushing and I keep going and I keep moving. Sorry that I'm itching my nose. I just have this crazy, I'm allergic to something, I don't know what it is, but anyway, this belief that it's going to work and that happened for a reason. It was meant to happen. Move on, I had a
Okay,
couple of days of sadness, but I worked it out.
how do you create that belief if for example, if you haven't had like a track record of success and you want that success, but how do you start creating that belief for you?
You just choose to believe it, and you just don't stop. So the only way that you can and your audience can fail, the only way is if they stop. That's it. And eventually it's going to work, right? Like even if it doesn't work right now or a couple years, like eventually something will work. If you don't stop, it will work. And even though you think you're failing or it's not working, that's really not true. It is working because you're learning what's not working. You're getting better and better. So you're still moving towards your goal, right? Like the only way you can not work is if you stop.
Wow, that's
I gotta
awesome.
ask you a question real quick, Bilal. How
Yeah.
is it that you've already had 60 podcasts and I'm the only woman you've ever had on? How is that even possible? Is it like an
Yeah.
all male podcast or what?
I mean, I do invite women. It's just that I guess men are really like or like they like talking in front of a camera, or they just like doing interviews. So you're one of the ones that I feel like you're not afraid. Like you mentioned, a lot of people don't like coming on video or like talking about giving their opinions. But I just feel like you definitely don't have that image. You're not afraid. You give your values. You put yourself up there. You're very active. You're very busy, and it was like whoever listens to this podcast is gonna get so much value. So I really want to say thank you, for everything that you've said, and thank you for coming on. We had some trouble, but obviously, that's the thing about entrepreneurship, right? Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is 100%, and we just gotta make it work like we did.
Yes, we had the wrong times last week, and then today it took us 15 minutes to get on because we had the wrong passwords, and we just did it. We didn't get mad. We just moved forward.
Right. And that's like positive thinking and just trying to make it work. So I just have like now a couple of questions. I know you have to go soon. So I wanted to ask you like if people wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way?
Go to KristaMashore.com. So just KristaMashore.com. I also have a free 7-day challenge that I teach local professionals how to, kind of work on their mindset and work on their business at the same time. And you would just go to KristaMashore.com slash free challenge, or Krista Mashore. Yeah, I think it's free challenge. Let me figure out what that is. I can't remember. Hold on. I'm pretty sure it's KristaMashore.com slash free challenge. KristaMashore.com slash free.
Yeah, no problem. So what I'll do is I'll add that link. You can send it to me, and I'll be happy to include it in the show
Yep,
notes. So,
that's what it is. It's KristaMashore.com slash free challenge. So if you go
perfect.
to that, and we teach people, they can find out about me, and they can see if they like me, and then they can also, they'll get access to this book, and all that. This will really, really help your listeners. It talks about the 8 phases of the sales cycle, and why most businesses fail is because they don't focus on every phase of the sales cycle, right? So they might focus on lead generation or conversion, but they forget about nurturing and fulfillment and delivery and refer, retain, and resell. This goes over all the phases of the sales cycle. And I actually learned this from Alex Ramosi, part of it, which really, really was helpful to me to really, really help bring my business together for a circle so that you don't fail as a business owner. And that's what's difficult for most entrepreneurs and small businesses, is that they only focus on certain things and not all of them. So there's these huge gaps in their business, which cause their businesses to go under.
Right, Krista. So what I really like about you is like you're such a giver. Even though you mentioned that you have this much time, but you still want to give. You want to give as much helpful tips as you can. So I really want to thank you and appreciate you coming on the show and giving all this information.
You're welcome. Well, I really thank you for having me. It means a lot. And I wish you the success. And I just remind everyone, it's great to learn, but if you don't implement, it doesn't do any good, right? So you can learn all day long. You can be like a chronic learner, but you want to be a chronic implementer.
Right. So I have my final question now for you, and this is like a question that a lot of my audience like, and also my guests really like this question. So I want you to imagine you have a safe at home, okay? And to be able to get into that safe, you go to so you go to the basement, and there's a wall. You put your hand onto the wall. It scans your hand and opens up a door. You go inside. Then there's a lock. So you have a key. Only you have access to this key. You put in the key in the lock. You turn it, and it opens up the second door. Then you walk in the second door, there's a briefcase there. It has a combination. Only you have access to this combination. No one else knows this. You put in the combination, you open up the briefcase, and there's a paper in that briefcase. And this document, this paper has steps, guides, just information that you've learned in your life that you could use and put there. Maybe you wanted to help your kids. Maybe you want to help your people close to you, your family. If one day your daughter or your children were reading this paper and you wanted them to be successful, what would you write on that document?
So that's what I would say.
Great. It was really awesome to get to know you, Krista. I really appreciate everything.
Bilal, I really appreciate you. Best of luck to you. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So that's the end of the episode, guys. Way more customers, and talk to you guys on the next one.